Recording. Bum ba da ba ba doo ba doom boom boom boom. Todd beats tutorial. Toddtastic tutorial Tuesdays is what we're doing. So stupid. Oh my god, dude. I'm so glad that I have overcome the need to be perfect, because Lord knows this would not go anywhere. Okay, so what are we doing today? You may be asking yourself, and I don't know why you would, because we need to know things. But so I'm invariably, consistently asked for tutorials and for help on tutorials. So today we're going to learn how to draw arms. Don't you feel special? You're part of this. You're part of this all new thing, these Toddtastic Tutorial Tuesdays. So we'll go through and we'll do some exercises that I've done over the years, that I used to do when I was younger, that I still do to some degrees today in every single aspect. But I'm hoping that you guys will follow along. We'll do arms in different angles and positions and etc. And show you about muscle groups and where things go and get placed, etc., etc. So the very first thing that I always start with any arm is going to be the shoulder. And you can do like this nice little simple oval, this circle. What's up, Augie Doggy? How's it going, brother? I hope you're doing well, man. That circle is going to be made up of the deltoid. So this is the deltoid. The front deltoid is the anterior. Anterior is the front, equals front. Posterior equals back. Lateral equals side. So lateral, bap, bap, anterior, bap, bap, posterior, bap, bap. Okay? From there, you're going to go into a bicep and a tricep. The tricep has got this nice little S curve. The bicep has got this nice little swoop here. That's going to come down into an elbow, a forearm, which is going to go into your wrist and your hand, okay? Now this bicep, tricep, and this forearm. The bicep ties in down here. The forearm actually, so here's some common mistakes that I see people making on the regular on their arms, okay? So on the front view of the arm, okay, I'm just going to do a quick version of this. They make this front view bicep the same as under view. Okay, so meaning they do the front bicep like this. But what actually happens on the front bicep is there is another muscle that kind of ties into this forearm, which ties into your elbow. That comes over that bicep. It's your brachialis, I believe, if I can remember correctly. What's up, Jaxios? How's it going, man? Y'all tell Jaxios thank you for me. Go follow him as well. He's a young artist trying to do this. He came and helped me out with the convention this last weekend, and we had a great chat. He did good. Hold on one second. Of course, my wife is calling. Hi, you're on Todd Beats Live.
Hi, you ordered the pizza, right?
I did.
And it's under Todd?
No, it's under Ashton. You sat there and watched me say it under your name.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah, so 626, it should be there under your name.
Okay.
Okay, love you, bye.
Bye.
Wild things happen on Todd Beats Live. Okay, so anyway, the forearm muscle, the brachialis, actually comes up and kind of goes between your tricep and your bicep here, and has this little tie-in area between the bottom of your deltoid and the top of the brachialis, and then that goes into your forearm. Okay, and then the forearm, you've got this nice little deep shadow. You know, this thing right here, this part of your forearm that actually ties into your elbow. Okay, and then these forearm muscles wrap around that area of your forearm bone. And you can get like super all grainy and muscly with that if you want to. I tend to break it up into two majors, just for simplicity's sake, and then the elbow kind of tucks in between there. So this would just be like your standard, normal front view of your arm. Lateral deltoid, anterior deltoid, posterior deltoid, bicep, tricep, brachialis, biceps, brachialis, forearm muscles. I don't have all those memorized, so I'm not going to try and quote them. Christos, that's awesome, man. Heck yeah, dude. What's up? By the way, nice arms. Thanks, G. Maxwell, how you doing, buddy? Okay, so don't do this thing. Don't pull that bicep on the front. The normal front view should not be exposed like that. You're not going to see the bicep like that unless you're on the underside view. So if you were doing a simplified version of this, okay, which is like an average muscly person, the way it's going to look, your silhouette, this exterior shape, the silhouette is going to look the same always. Understanding silhouettes is something important that we'll go into in the future. But like the deltoid tends to be the thing that sticks out the most. And then maybe you'll have a simplified line there, and a simplified line here, and a simplified line there. Like it's going to be very minimal. Okay. You can break the rules, you can simplify the rules only once you understand the actual rules. The hunched over poses, yeah, we'll get there in the future, man. Chris Cook, I appreciate it, brother. Okay, so this is like the standard front view. So if the guy was standing all front and beefy or whatever, and you were looking at the arm as if he was like, superhero posing or whatever. This is what it would look like. Now, what I would tell people and what I say to people and what I did and what I think others should do is you practice this drawing hundreds of times, dozens and hundreds of times. Christos, we're not talking about that stuff right now. We're doing just arms today. This is all arms. Muscle call that connects from the torso to the neck. There's lots of them, but there's the traps. Like this is a trap, trapezius, if that's what you're talking about. Okay, so we're focusing on arms. This you should draw dozens and dozens of times. So, like what I would say, anybody that's wanting to study, we'll do that real quick. I've already done a few. Try doing 5. Let's do 5 real quick. Same pose. I'm not trying to get too strict, but you want to do this as a lot of times because you want to get these proportions memorized so you can like mix them up and do it over and over again. Change the meatiness of the muscle, right? Because if you get the shapes right, all you have to do is make them thinner or thicker according to whatever your character design is that you're working on. Okay, so loose, easy, quick arms. We're not stressing about them being perfect. From the top of the shoulder to the elbow and from the elbow to the bottom of the wrist is about the same, by the way. Bap, bap, bap. Same. Okay. Asher, I don't have you memorized right now. It usually takes me, for you commenting pretty consistently for a while before I'll get you memorized, but I appreciate the support regardless. I'm sure I'll get you memorized eventually. So then if you wanted to do the same thing with a bigger muscle, like more like a Hulk arm, like from here to here is going to be the same, but you're going to widen that out, right? And then the same thing on the bicep. And the forearm. So everybody kind of goes, well, like, how do I get better? This is how you get better. You sit here and you practice the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until there's literally no stress or concern whatsoever about it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to want to pose somebody, and I'm not sitting there trying to come up with an overall pose on any given piece. I'm taking these puzzle pieces that I've studied and I'm putting them in where I think they're going to fit. So maybe this is the pose that I have for a particular character, and his arm looks good in that way. But it is more likely that I might pull a totally, like I might go, oh, I don't like the simple arm. I want to go to a flexed arm, or I want to go to an arm coming at me or whatever, which we're going to also do. Yeah, we'll do the front. I mean, this is more or less the front view, kind of. This is like if he was going, like beefing up. But we can do a slight twist on that where it's a little more relaxed. So same concept, right? Deltoid. So if you're doing the front view, you're going to see more of the anterior deltoid. It's more prominent. That's going to tie into the pec, right? Pectoral. You're going to see almost the full bicep from the front. Remember that biceps brachialis that's going to come off here. Like if you want to be technical, that's what you're going to see a little bit more of. You're going to see more of the fold, inner elbow fold is going to be exposed. That's this nice little V here. This forearm muscle is kind of going to roll in like this. So like if you were going to like really break down these muscles, this is somewhat how it's going to look. That forearm's going to wrap around back here. You're really not going to see the back of the elbow almost at all. The back of the tricep is going to just poke out. Pokes out behind brachialis. I'm pretty sure I just misspelled that, but that's okay. We'll be all right. Okay, so front view, bicep dominant. Interior more prominent. Lateral deltoid. Okay. And then we would do similar exercises. By the way, I tried to go live, it's so hard, but your lives are entertaining. Any tips for beginners? For going live, yeah, you just got to get more confident in your skills and talking to people while you're working. That's the hardest part, man. If you're not super comfortable with your skills, it's going to be hard to have a conversation, a natural conversation with somebody, because you're going to be too distracted with your actual drawing process. You're going to be like thinking too hard about what's happening and whether you're doing a good job and your poses and all of that stuff. If you're wanting to, but if you're wanting to get better at it, like, no time like the present. So if this was the view and he was making a fist or whatever, you'd get a nice side view of the fist as opposed to kind of a like a semi front view of the fist. And we'll tie all these other things in at some point as well in the future, but for now, this is all we're worried about. Okay, so we do let's do 5 of those real quick, 5 or 6 of those. Remember our anterior deltoid, lateral deltoid. These are going to tie into your pec. Bicep is going to be the most dominant. Brachialis is going to kind of poke off of there. Remember the brachialis, that break in the brachialis as it comes off of the elbow, that little tuck, this little thingy right here. See that nice elbow fold in there into a fist. Bap, 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 bap. Do a couple more of those. And so like when I was learning how to do this stuff, I would literally have pages of just this. Okay, like pages and pages. Like rows and rows and rows of getting better at this shape and finding a, studying all the different artists and seeing what they did and what they like, and trying their styles and trying to duplicate it and match that and, pull from one artist's style and into my own and, et cetera, until eventually you find something that is completely your own. There's a lot of like Wills Portatio, I still don't know how to say his name correctly. Wills Portatio, Jim Lee. Those guys are legendary. Go study their anatomy. Their comic book anatomy is epic. Of course, most of the modern day comic artists have actually pretty good anatomy. Like back in the 90s when I was coming up, learning, there was plenty of quote unquote professional comic artists that didn't know jack squat about anatomy, or if they did, it was pretty weak. But once you learn these anatomy things, these muscle groups and stuff, it really starts to just become like knowing when and where to twist it and how to put it in place. You start getting to a place where you can kind of picture in your head like where these muscle groups are. And then if we want to go like really big, again, if we want to like hulk out a bicep, like the length is the same. We just make it wider. Okay. And I'm hoping that you guys, I'm going to post videos on this, on these, a little quickie thing. And I'm hoping you guys will follow along and show me your practices. Because that's what I'd really like to see, is you guys practicing these different poses and stuff. Art Hood, what's up, dude? Christos, we'll see you, brother. Art Hood, what's going on? Chris Cook, no problem. Okay. So that's front view. Remember, bicep dominant. The brachialis is poking off the side. There's not quite as dominant as this view. Sorry, that's the same view as this view, which is a little more of a side view. Side-ish view. Okay. And then we'll continue to rotate. So let's say the person is holding their arm open. So you're still going to have more or less, your anterior deltoid is going to be twisting and wrapping around to that pec. And delt, lat delt. And now that bicep, which tucks in up under this pec, right? That's going to be coming out. Now the bicep is twisted. Oh, Try that again. Now the tricep is under. Not the best hand there, but whatever. So this bicep is always going to come into that forearm, and now we're on the underside of the forearm. So that brachialis, this thing, so now we've twisted this under, and so now this meaty part of the forearm is the dominant muscle. And you're starting to go into these veins here. Sonics, no worries, man. How long did it take you to learn anatomy? I mean, it's been something that's been a process for a while. I don't know that I could quote you like a number of months or days or whatever. I have little videos up on my playlist already of like how to learn and how I learned, and one of the big ways was watching bodybuilding competitions. So that was extremely helpful to me to like actually look at and study human form, and like bodybuilders obviously are super ripped and cut, so you can really see like the definition of their muscle groups. Jaden, doing well, my man. Dad teaches anatomy and physiology, so this is great. Awesome, Art Thorough, that's awesome. So again, we're gonna be doing, I want you guys trying to do these challenges with me. I want you to fill up a page of these, you know, do 10 or 15 or 20 of these. And if you can do them like for a week, like basically what I'm gonna do is each one of these different angles, how to draw arms, side view, okay, side-ish view, more or less. We're gonna do semi-front view here, semi-front view test. Now we're gonna do the interior view. I want you guys to, I'm gonna post the challenges each day for the rest of the week. And I'm hoping you guys will take the challenge and practice this stuff. So like muscles, when you start getting into them, when you start learning them and how they work and where they go and stuff, it's like there's always a tendon, like a tendon point that connects to a bone, and then there's the meat of the muscle connected to another tendon. And you start figuring out how, like, okay, so like the reason I can twist my arm like this is literally because of the different muscle groups and where they're tied to the bones from my elbow to my wrist. Like if I had just a bicep muscle here and a tricep muscle here, I would not be able to do this with my wrist. Okay, like it would be more limited. So you start figuring out like, oh, okay, so like there is an actual purpose to these, the way muscles are made and how they connect, and it's fascinating, right? So when you start to kind of understand like what the purpose of the muscle is, it starts making it a little bit easier to remember them and like how they work and why they work, and which, you know, gets a little more fun. I started to get good at it by looking at your drawings. I appreciate that. Thank you. Planet Sage, I want to learn how to draw so bad. Study with me, dude. When I used to teach my friends how to draw back in, you know, junior high and high school, I used to say, if you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this, like you're drawing muscle, like that's it. You can draw, man. Like it's literally just learning where to put those circles, how to make those circles the right size and the right placement. But it's all the same thing, right? It's just circles of different shapes, and then like turn them into ovals and turning them into these kind of little like football-y shapes or teardrop shapes. Like it's all the same stuff. You just got to know when and where to twist and turn and flex and, you know, beef up the meat of the muscle, you know, is always at the center of the muscle. And that's always going to be affected by like how the arm is bent. So like there's a difference between a bicep in this stretched out position compared to like if I flex him, this bicep is going to get shortened, right? It's going to get shorter and rounder. Whereas this tricep that was relatively flexed when this arm was out is going to get stretched. So it's going to get longer and rounder. Cool. Now draw Zangief. No, we're not drawing specific characters. We're doing tutorials. So we're going to do like 5 or 6 of those real quick. Oh, it's the Monkey King. Oh no, am I out of paper here? That's going to suck. So we're going to do the underside here. And the silhouettes, depending on which angle you're going, are almost always the same. Very, very similar. So when you get good at it, you'll get to the point where you can whip these shapes out fairly quickly. Some of them are going to be better, some are going to be worse. But the idea is when you make a conscious effort to do repetitions, it's going to get easier. It's just like learning your alphabet. It's a more complicated shape, but like if I draw an A like this, and you draw an A like this, and somebody else draws an A like this, or whatever, like we all know it's an A, right? Or maybe you stretch it backwards or whatever. It's the same thing with like anatomy. Like the foundation is the same, but stylistically, you as an artist are gonna change. You're gonna switch things up and stuff. Can I put it in frame? Did I miss the A? Planet Sage, awesome, man. I usually have a hard time connecting the arm to the shoulder and making it look not broken. Yeah, and that'll take time. It will, if you practice these fundamental shapes, you will start to get to a place where you can recognize when you're overstretching a muscle or understretching a muscle, or oversizing or undersizing or whatever. Dance King, we're not doing hands today, we're doing arms. Arms only today. And I'm going to post videos this week, all this week. I'm going to be challenging everybody to do these practices. You know, I'm going to do 5 or 6 here just on the on this live tutorial, just to show how much time I want you guys spending. But I would love to see you guys spending, you know, 20 or 30 or 40 minutes or longer and filling up a page with 10 or 15 or 20 or more of these same shapes, you know, these same arm views. And then if we're, again, if we're going bigger, if you're like the Hulk, remember this distance here is the same. Same from the wrist to the elbow, same from the elbow to the top of the shoulder. But we just make this wider, just make that thicker. Running out of room over here, but that's okay. This is this little armpit muscle here that goes between the tricep and the bicep and in the underside of the armpit. Okay, that's a good little point to remember as well. So remember, the interesting thing, just generally speaking about all body parts, is they seem to be like the hand that's an open hand is about the same as, right, as here. So it's shrunk by a third and then half, and then those all go in half and thirds and whatever. So like you start figuring out how, what is the best book for drawing? Do bent or movement, do bent arms or movement. We will, I'll get there. That's gonna be next. Okay, so that's our general idea here. There's lots of great books. I do have a little video on that. You can find it on my tutorial playlist on my page. I talk about how to learn anatomy. There's a bunch of different books that I recommend. Hogarth is a great author, artist. Bern Hogarth, I think it's B-R-N. For anatomy. I don't have his book anymore. There's a bunch. Anatomy for Artists is another decent book. Anatomy for Artists. Again, I'm not in frame here. The Mexican Rodent, I have lots of tips for dynamic posing, but it is all going to stem off your understanding of the fundamentals. So, and that's what we're working on today, is these arm fundamentals. So if you'll remember, we worked on back here. So we got how to draw arms, this pose, right? So this is a mostly side-ish view, or like a comic book pose, kind of beefy guy. He's kind of flexing just a little bit, showing you the front of his, it's like twisting forward. He's rah, you know, like they do. So you've got that view. So if we go into that bent, remember the bicep is going to shorten, the brachialis is going to kind of be between. Wolverine. All right, so shorter, longer, so that tricep is not going to be as flexed as it was right here. See how that's like shorter? It's because when your arm is stretched out, that tricep shortens. But when it's bent, it lengthens. Greta, what's going on? Bridgeman, what's up? Slide to the right a bit. I don't know what you mean. Sorry, bro. Most of this stuff is fixed because I've got like 3 cameras on it. So I was doing arms and it's hard. It is hard, man. But if you follow along, I'm going to post this whole thing I'm not using a book. I don't use a book. I'm long past a book. Okay, so like that's a side view, that's a bend. Same rules apply, right? Like I want you guys to draw this kind of pose. Half a dozen times, 20, 30 times, 40 times, fill a page, get used to it, get comfortable with it, and then move on to the next one. But it's always going to be, the muscle groups are always in the same spot. Brachialis, forearm bends, bicep shrinks, lateral deltoid, anterior deltoid, posterior deltoid, tricep, etc. If it's the bigger muscle, just wider, shorter. So if it's like the Hulk, it's always a good reference. It's always the same. Okay. Hello, the guy. What's going on, man? I do remember you at the convention. Todd Peaks, Rayon. What's going on? Drawing muscles on the hand. Drawing muscles and the hand. Hands are hard. It's all good. Don't worry, young savage. I appreciate it, man. Okay, so how to draw arms. This is your side view. And again, I'm going to repost all of this stuff on Schmoob Schmoob. Explain the last video. I shaved my beard off, man. I look weird. You repeat the side-ish view, draw it over and over again. The length from the top of the shoulder to the elbow, elbow to the wrist. That's about the same distance. You can tweak that a little bit, but not too much for your proportions to be the same. This is going to be slightly more forward, so you're going to be bicep dominant. Brachialis is going to be slightly out of frame a little bit, but it's still going to meet your lateral deltoid and your anterior deltoid, which is your front deltoid. That tricep is going to peek out behind. Tricep pokes out behind the brachialis. Your forearm is here. Okay, you're going to see more of that underside meat of your arm muscle. Ties into your pec. And then you draw that over and over and over again, dozens of times. Then we have your the interior view where you've twisted and you're exposing the inside of your arm, standing still or whatever. Anterior deltoid is going to be the most prominent there. Lateral deltoid. Bicep is fully exposed here. So you're going to see that nice dip. This is what people see a lot of, is that bicep here, underside of the tricep, forearm, underside of the wrist, starts to go into your veins, elbow's a little bit hidden. Okay, if you flex that arm, that bicep is going to shrink and get more round. Okay, whereas the tricep is going to stretch and lengthen. Then you draw that dozens and dozens of times. Okay. We get over the Monkey King here. Sorry, Monkey King. Sorry, Monkey King. Sorry, Spawn. Sorry, Spawn. Sorry, Spawn. You guys made me lose my place. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There we go. Arm flexed. We've taken all of those things. This is the side view. You're going to do that dozens and dozens of times. Now, if we were going to turn this around and we were going to see like the underside of this bicep, right? Make sure we've got open pages. That bicep is really prominent. Forearm to wrist. Man, that pizza is smelling really good, guys. You're getting a lot out of me right now. Okay. Same concept. Now this would be more or less the same if he's like if this elbow is at his side, or if he's like flexing, like he's literally flexing his muscles to show it off. So people think he's attractive or whatever. It's like standard muscle guy pose. Travis Frederick, appreciate explaining the last video. Proportions. Looking good, Todd. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. So again, I'm going to do these challenges all week this week. I want you guys to be practicing and sending me your videos, tagging me of your practice. I want to see at least 10 to 15 of these on a page. You're getting these shapes memorized. So I'll post a video on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok. That's the first thing. And then you'll just stitch or duet the video, and I'll see it that way. I'm gonna stitch or duet. Nice, cool. Let's see, and then we won't get too much, I don't want to get too complicated here, but yeah, I think we'll stick with that for now. This is a 45-minute, this seems hella easy. Good, it should. It's gonna seem easy because it's easy. The hard part isn't doing this, it's doing it so much that you don't have to think about it anymore. That it's not hard, that it's not complicated, that it's not nerve-wracking. And then when you figure out how to do these dozens and dozens and dozens of poses, you know, even for just an arm, there's all kinds of different poses that you can do. So you can, so I was gonna say I wasn't gonna do this, but obviously I'm gonna do this. So if an arm is face forward and you have your, excuse me, your muscle groups here, your bicep, tricep, blah, blah, like somebody's throwing a punch, or maybe it's Superman, like flying through the air. Like everything is still the same. It's all the same stuff. You just got to learn where to shrink and where to lengthen those muscle groups, where and how, right? If it was the underside, like what we were talking about, anterior, posterior, here's this. But what if instead of it being bent out, like his elbow being out this way, the hand is forward like a Wolverine claw? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all the same stuff. You just, if you memorize these poses and these angles, you can literally just puzzle piece your way into a dynamic pose. See, people want to be able to do the dynamic poses before before they learn these fundamentals, and you're not going to really be able to do that. No, I'm not doing Inktober. How do you draw the arm holding something? Can you do a reference of a person waving? So what do you mean by the arm holding something? Like what do you mean by an arm holding something? Help me understand. Let's see, a person waving. So let's say a person is waving. So what's going to happen? Their arm's going to be stretched up. Okay, right? Their hand's going to be up. They're going to be, hey, hey. Sorry. I'm probably going out of frame here. Hey, yo, hi. Right, arm stretched out, sorry. Oh, so that's not like an arm holding a sword. So it's from which position, right? So like if you're doing it from the front, it's all the same that we already talked about. Brachialis, arm, blah, blah, blah. He's doing this. Do you notice how much I can just like fling all this together and then polish it after? Because like I know my shapes, I know my anatomy, I know where I'm off. So I start loose and then I darken it. Boom, arm holding a sword. Like it's all the same. Now the one difference I think that a lot of people screw up on is they think that like a fist, like if I was going to draw a fist, it'd be something like this from the front side-ish kind of a thing. That's a fairly closed fist. But if I'm holding a sword, there's a handle that has to fit in there. So if I'm doing this, you can't stuff a sword in there. That handle's got to be, there's got to be some meat to that handle, so that's going to open up your hand. So you're going to see more of whatever you're holding, right? So this thumb would be up more, this finger would be out more, this finger would be out more. That makes sense? Now, depending on where that sword is and like where your hilt is and the angles and all that stuff, it's going to change everything. Okay, so what you don't want to do is you don't want to go, let's see, let's do like a side view of a fist. All right, here's a better one. Here's a better example of what people do. Like this is somebody throwing a punch. With the fist closed, right? then what people do is they go, oh, I'm just gonna make that a sword. And like the sword handle is as thick as the fingers and the hand hasn't changed size or anything. And like everything is closed the same tightness, and like it works. Like it's not the worst thing in the world, but I feel like you should acknowledge that there is some mass to this thing. So like your thumb is going to be isn't going to be as closed around it. The handle's going to fit inside the knuckles. So there's meat. There's meat there to actually hold the sword. Kind of a thing. Make sense? Okay. That's it. That's what we're doing. We're donezos. How to draw arms. I want you guys practicing. I'm going to post a video of I want you to do these side views. Like this. Fill up pages and pages like this. I want to see pages and pages of this. Front view. I want to see pages and pages of just these. Don't worry about how it's going to tie into everything else. Just worry about your muscle groups. And we're going to jump to the underside. I want pages and pages of these underside poses. They don't need to be fixed and perfect and awesome and amazing. I just want to see that you can draw, and you're starting to understand how to draw this exact same pose and this exact same angle a million bazillion times until it is effortless for you. Okay? And then we're going to jump into, where'd you go, arm, sorry. I won't use different things. Slightly bent, we're going to do them all, okay? So follow me, be prepared to practice. I want to see your practice, and we're going to see if we can start getting you guys sharp. Have actual tutorial, not just advice, oh, quick advice, this is how you draw an arm. I want you understanding and practicing the way practice should occur. Okay? Okay. I think that's it. I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to go eat some pizza. And we'll see you tomorrow.